My phone rang at 7:42 a.m. on a quiet Tuesday. It was my pilot son, Ethan, voice shaking. "Mom, this can't be right. She's on my flight right now, not at home." The she he meant, his wife Sarah, the same Sarah I'd just seen sleeping in my guest room 20 minutes earlier. But when I checked, the bed was empty, perfectly made, coat gone, no trace. Then Ethan sent the photo, a woman in row 14C, wearing Sarah's red coat, Sarah's locket, staring straight at the cockpit camera, with Sarah's smile. 2 women, 1 face, 1 life. And the terrifying secret that unraveled everything I thought I knew about my family still haunts me every single night. You won't believe what happened next. My name is Eleanor Hayes, and if you'd asked me last week what the scariest thing in the world was, I would have said lightning storms over the Rockies, or maybe the way the house creaks when the wind kicks up at 3 in the morning. I would have laughed at the idea that a single phone call could rewrite everything I thought I knew about love, trust, and the people who share my blood. I would have been wrong. It was Tuesday, October 14th, just past 7:40 a.m. in our little split level on Maplewood Lane, 20 minutes west of Denver. The kind of crisp fall morning where the air smells like pine and wood smoke, and the aspens are turning that violent, perfect gold. I remember exactly where I was standing, barefoot on the cold kitchen tile, wearing the faded University of Colorado sweatshirt I stole from Ethan's college dorm closet 15 years ago, pouring coffee from the ancient Mr. Coffee that still gurgled like it was dying every morning. The radio on the windowsill was playing some soft oldie station, Neil Diamond, I think, crooning about Sweet Caroline. I was humming along, off-key and content, because contentment is something you don't notice until it's gone. The landline rang. Not my cell, the house phone. Nobody calls the house phone anymore except telemarketers and my sister in Florida when she's drunk on margaritas. I almost let it go to the machine, but some tiny animal instinct made me pick up. "Hayes residence," I said, cradling the receiver between ear and shoulder while I stirred cream into my mug. "Mom," Ethan's voice sounded thin, like it had been stretched over glass. "Mom, this can't be right. She's on my flight right now, not at home." The mug slipped an inch in my hand. Hot coffee sloshed over the rim and burned my thumb. I didn't feel it. "Ethan? Honey, what are you talking about? Slow down." He was breathing too fast, the kind of breathing you hear when someone's trying not to panic in front of passengers. In the background, I could make out the low, constant whine of jet engines spooling up, the muffled ting of the fasten seatbelt sign, flight attendants murmuring instructions. "Sarah," he said, "my wife. I just watched her board. Row 14, seat C. She's wearing that red wool coat you bought her for Christmas 2 years ago, the one with the big collar. She looked right at me through the cockpit door and gave me that little finger wave she does, like everything's normal. But you told me she was at your place all week. You said she drove up Sunday night because she needed quiet. You said she was in the guest room watching those damn baking competitions on Netflix. Mom, she's supposed to be there with you." My heart gave one hard, painful thud, then seemed to forget how to beat properly. I set the mug down so carefully it made no sound. "She is here," I said, but the words felt wrong coming out, like someone else was saying them. "I swear to God, Ethan, she got here around 8 Sunday night. Suitcase, migraine, the whole story. I checked on her maybe 20 minutes ago. Door was cracked. I saw her breathing under the quilt. She's asleep." Silence on his end. Just the engines and the faint crackle of the connection. "Then who the hell is sitting in 14C wearing her coat and her locket?" His voice cracked on the last word. "Mom, I gave her that locket. Silver heart engraved on the back, forever yours, E. I saw it flash under the cabin lights when she turned. It's hers. It's her." I pressed my free hand to my chest like I could hold my heart still. Maybe it's a coincidence. Someone who looks like her. Red coat's not that rare. People buy them at Macy's every winter. "Mom," he said it like a plea. She asked the lead flight attendant if she could pop up to the flight deck for a second. They let her, short greeting, nothing unusual. She leaned in close and whispered, "Tell your mom I'm sorry." Then she went back to her seat. I've been staring at the monitor ever since. It's Sarah. I'd know her anywhere. The kitchen suddenly felt too small, the walls pressing in. I turned and looked down the hallway toward the guest room. The door was still ajar, just the way I'd left it. A thin strip of morning light cut across the hardwood.
Ethan, hold on. I'm going to check again. I walked, didn't run, because running would have meant admitting something was terribly wrong, down the hall. My bare feet made no sound. I knocked softly on the doorframe. Sarah? Honey? You awake? Nothing. I pushed the door wider. The bed was empty. Not just empty, made. Hospital corners, quilts smoothed, pillows fluffed like no one had slept there at all. No suitcase by the dresser, no purse on the chair, no phone charging on the nightstand. Just the lavender shampoo scent hanging in the air, already fading, like perfume sprayed hours ago. I opened the closet. Empty hangers. Her red coat, the one Ethan had just described, wasn't there. I backed out, phone still pressed to my ear. She's not here, I whispered. What? Ethan's voice sharpened. She's on. The room's empty. Bed's made like she was never in it. Coat's gone. Everything's gone. A flight attendant's voice came over his end, polite but firm. Captain Hayes, we're cleared for pushback. I have to go, he said, voice low and urgent. We're rolling. Mom, call her cell, right now, and lock the doors. I don't know what's happening, but something's wrong. Really wrong. The line went dead. I stood in the hallway, staring at the empty guest room, listening to the dial tone hum in my ear like a distant funeral bell. My coffee was still sitting on the counter, steam curling up in lazy spirals. Neil Diamond had moved on to I'm a Believer. The aspens outside the window kept turning gold in the sunlight, indifferent. I dialed Sarah's number with shaking fingers. It rang once, twice, then went straight to voicemail. Her voice, bright, familiar, the one I'd heard laughing at my terrible attempts at sourdough starter, filled the quiet kitchen. Hey, it's Sarah. Leave a message, or better yet, text me. I hung up without speaking. Then I texted. Sarah, where are you? Ethan just called from the plane. He thinks he saw you on board. Call me, please. The message sat there, delivered but unread. I walked to the front door and turned the deadbolt, then the back door. Then I checked every window, every lock, moving through the house like I was in someone else's nightmare. Because I was. Somewhere 35,000 feet above Nebraska, my son was flying a plane with a woman who looked exactly like his wife sitting in row 14C. And in my house, the woman who was supposed to be his wife had vanished without a trace. I sank onto the couch, hugged my knees to my chest, and stared at the hallway leading to the empty guest room. The radio kept playing. The aspens kept glowing. And I sat there wondering how long it had been since the person sleeping in my house had actually been my daughter-in-law. Because if it wasn't Sarah on that plane, then who the hell had been sleeping under my roof for the last 2 days? The guest room smelled wrong. Not bad exactly, just wrong. Like someone had opened a window for 5 minutes and let the outside world leak in, then closed it again before anything real could settle. Lavender shampoo, yes, but fainter now, almost apologetic. The quilt still held the ghost of a body shape, but when I pressed my palm to the sheets, they were cool, stone cold, no warmth left at all. I stood in the doorway longer than I should have, like if I didn't cross the threshold, the room might still be occupied, like denial was a physical space I could stand in. But the truth doesn't wait for permission. I stepped inside. First, the closet. Empty hangers clinked softly when I yanked the sliding door. Sarah's red wool coat, the one with the oversized collar that made her look like she belonged in a Nancy Meyers movie, was gone. The black ankle boots she'd worn Sunday night, the ones with the little scuff on the left toe from catching the curb outside baggage claim last Christmas, were missing too. No jeans folded over the chair, no silk blouse draped across the dresser. The small wheeled suitcase she dragged in behind her, the navy one with the silver zipper pull shaped like a tiny airplane, Ethan's joke gift, had vanished. I opened the dresser drawers anyway, empty, except for the complimentary sachets of potpourri the previous owners had left behind years ago. I pulled them out, crushed one between my fingers. The scent exploded, cloying rose and fake vanilla. It made my eyes water.
Next, the nightstand. Her phone charger was gone. The little silver travel alarm clock she always carried, because hotel ones are never right, was missing. But there was something else. A single bobby pin on the wood surface, black with a tiny pearl head. Sarah never wore bobby pins. She hated them, said they gave her headaches. I picked it up. It was warm. Not body warm, but warmer than the room should have allowed. My stomach twisted. I moved to the bathroom. Toothbrush gone. Travel-sized toothpaste tube missing from the counter. The hand towel she'd used, still damp when I'd passed by earlier, was dry now, folded neatly on the rack like housekeeping had been through. The mirror was spotless. Too spotless. No toothpaste fleck, no smudge from where she would have leaned in to check her mascara. I stared at my own reflection, wide-eyed, hair escaping its ponytail, skin the color of old paper. I looked like a woman who'd just realized the floor wasn't solid anymore. Back in the bedroom, I dropped to my knees and looked under the bed. Nothing, not even dust bunnies. The hardwood gleamed like it had been swept that morning. I sat back on my heels, my knees cracked. I'm not old, not really, but 58 feels ancient when your world is tilting. I pulled out my phone again, dialed Sarah, straight to voicemail. That same bright recording. "Hey, it's Sarah, leave a message, or better yet, text me." I wanted to scream into the receiver. Instead, I hung up and opened our family group chat. "Sarah, answer your phone. Ethan's worried sick. Where are you?" 7:58 a.m. No dots, no reply. I scrolled up. The last message from her was Sunday night. "Just pulled into Mom's driveway. Traffic was brutal. Heading straight to bed. Migraine from hell. Love you both." Ethan had replied with a heart emoji. I'd sent a thumbs up and a sleeping cat gif. Now it all felt staged. I stood up too fast. The room spun. I braced myself against the dresser and forced slow breaths. Think like Ethan would. He's the pilot, calm under pressure, trained to troubleshoot when everything's screaming red. First, timeline. She arrived Sunday around 8, ate half a bowl of chicken noodle soup I'd heated up, complained about the lights being too bright, went to bed early. I'd heard her moving around a little after midnight, floorboards creaking, toilet flush. Monday, she'd stayed in the room most of the day. I'd knocked once around noon with tea. She'd called, "Thanks, Mom," through the door, voice muffled. I left the tray outside. When I came back at 4, the tea was gone, cup rinsed in the bathroom sink. Tuesday morning, today, I'd peeked in at 7:20 a.m. before making coffee. Door cracked, quilt up to her chin, breathing steady. I'd smiled to myself, thinking how nice it was to have her here, even if she was quiet. Now the bed was made like a hotel room waiting for the next guest. I walked back to the living room, legs shaky. The house felt bigger, emptier. Every shadow looked like it might move. I called Ethan again. It rang through to his personal voicemail this time. He was airborne, no cell service, except the spotty Wi-Fi he sometimes used for texts. "Ethan, it's Mom. She's really gone. Everything's gone. Call me the second you land. I don't know what to do." I hung up and stared at the front door. Locked, deadbolt thrown. I checked the back door too, same. Windows secure, no broken glass, no sign of forced entry. She'd left on her own. But why? And how had she done it so cleanly, so quietly, while I was 20 feet away pouring coffee? I went to the kitchen table and sat. My hands were cold. I wrapped them around the coffee mug I'd abandoned earlier. It was lukewarm now, the cream starting to separate in little oily swirls. I opened my laptop. Muscle memory took over. I logged into Sarah's Instagram. Ethan had given me the password years ago for emergency access, half joking about how she posted too many cat videos. The grid loaded. Her last post, a photo from last Friday. She and Ethan at their favorite Denver brewery, arms around each other, golden hour light making them both glow. Caption, "Lucky to have this guy flying me through life. Airplane, heart, wife life." Comments from friends, hearts, fire emojis. I scrolled further back. Nothing unusual. Work selfies, coffee runs, a weekend hike in the foothills. All normal, all Sarah. But the timestamps nagged at me. I clicked on her stories, archived now. Sunday night, a quick boomerang of her suitcase rolling across my driveway, captioned, Home away from home for a few days. Then nothing until Monday afternoon. A photo of the guest room window, golden aspen leaves framed outside, captioned, "Quiet is good medicine." I'd been in the kitchen when she took that. I remembered hearing the shutter sound. So she had been here.
Hadn't she? I minimized the window and opened Google Maps, typed in their apartment address in Denver, 35 minutes away, traffic willing. I could drive there, see if she'd gone home, see if this was just some elaborate fight Ethan hadn't told me about. But deep down, I knew. This wasn't a fight. This was something colder, something planned. I grabbed my keys from the hook by the door, my coat, my purse. On impulse, I went back to the guest room one last time. I pulled open the nightstand drawer again. There, tucked in the very back corner, under a spare Bible the previous owners had left, a single folded piece of paper. I unfolded it with trembling fingers. A boarding pass. Flight 417, Denver to Boston. Seat 14C. Date, today. Name, Sarah Hayes. I stared at it until the ink blurred. Then I heard it, faint, almost imagined. A car engine starting somewhere down the street. I ran to the window. Nothing, just empty pavement and fallen leaves skittering in the wind. But the sound had been real. Someone had been watching, waiting for me to find it.
The house was too quiet after I found the boarding pass, the kind of quiet that presses against your eardrums like water at the bottom of a pool. Every creak of the settling foundation sounded like footsteps. Every gust of wind against the windows sounded like someone testing the locks. I sat at the kitchen table with the boarding pass in front of me, smoothing it flat like it might change if I handled it gently enough. Flight 417, DEN to BOS, departed 8:15 a.m., seat 14C, passenger Sarah Hayes. No upgrades, no special requests, just a standard economy ticket purchased online at 2:47 a.m. last night while I was asleep 20 feet down the hall. My phone buzzed. Ethan. Text, not call. He must still be in the air, using the patchy satellite Wi-Fi the airline provides for crew. Mom. Attached photo. Look at this. Please tell me I'm losing my mind. I opened the message. The attachment loaded slowly, grainy, taken from an awkward angle, probably from the cockpit jump seat monitor that lets pilots keep an eye on the cabin. Row 14 filled the frame. A woman in the aisle seat, window side partially cropped, red wool coat folded over her lap, dark hair tucked behind one ear, head turned slightly toward the camera, lips curved in that small, knowing smile Sarah always used when she caught Ethan staring at her across a room. It was her. The silver locket glinted under the overhead reading light, heart-shaped, chain delicate enough to look fragile, but strong enough to survive years of wear. I zoomed in until the pixels broke apart. The engraving was too small to read, but I didn't need to. I'd watched Ethan clasp that necklace around her neck on their first anniversary, his hands shaking because he was nervous she wouldn't like it. She'd cried happy tears and kissed him so hard they both laughed. I sat back, chair legs scraping the tile. My reflection stared back at me from the darkened laptop screen, eyes wide, mouth half open, like I'd been about to speak and forgotten the words. Another text came through. She asked to come up front right after takeoff, said it was her husband's birthday and she wanted to surprise him. Flight attendant bought it. She stood in the doorway for maybe 30 seconds, looked me dead in the eye and whispered, "Tell your mom I'm sorry." Then she turned and walked back like nothing happened. I've been watching her on the monitor ever since. She hasn't moved, hasn't touched the drink, just stares straight ahead. I typed back with fingers that felt wooden. "It's her locket, the one you gave her. I see it." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "Mom, what if it's not Sarah at your house who left? What if the one who was here wasn't her either?" The question landed like a punch to the sternum. I hadn't let myself think it yet, not fully. I'd been clinging to the idea that Sarah had slipped out quietly, maybe for some emergency, maybe angry at Ethan for something he hadn't told me. But the boarding pass timestamp gnawed at me, 2:47 a.m. If she'd bought the ticket then, she'd been planning to leave before dawn. Yet I'd seen her breathing under the quilt at 7:20. Or I thought I had. I stood up so fast the chair tipped. I needed air. I needed to move. I grabbed my coat,
Not the heavy winter one, just the fleece hanging by the door, and stepped onto the front porch. The neighborhood was waking up. Mr. Callahan across the street was retrieving his newspaper in slippers and robe. A school bus rumbled past 2 blocks over. Normal Tuesday sounds. They felt obscene.
I paced the driveway, phone clutched like a lifeline. Ethan's next text came through. We're an hour out of Boston. I can't leave the flight deck, but I asked the purser to keep an eye on her. She's still in 14C. No phone out, no book, nothing. Just sitting there, like she's waiting for something. Waiting for what? I went back inside, locked the door behind me, and headed straight for the living room. The family photos on the mantel caught my eye. A Christmas card from last year, the 4 of us. Ethan in his uniform, Sarah in that green velvet dress she loved, me trying not to look too proud, and an empty chair where Tom should have been. Heart attack 3 years ago. Sudden. No goodbye. I lifted the frame. Behind it, tucked against the wall, was another photo I'd forgotten about. Smaller. Candid. Taken at Ethan and Sarah's rehearsal dinner. Sarah laughing, head thrown back, Ethan kissing her temple. I looked happy in the background, wine glass raised. But someone had been here. The glass was cracked, spider-webbed from the center outward, like a fist had struck it. Not hard enough to shatter completely, just enough to ruin the picture. And in the middle of the damage, right over Sarah's face, someone had taken a pen and scratched, over and over, furious circles. The ink had bitten deep into the photo paper, tearing it in places. Her smile was obliterated, her eyes gone, just a black void where her face used to be. I dropped the frame. It hit the carpet with a dull thud. My knees gave out. I sat right there on the floor, back against the couch, staring at the ruined picture. Who does that? Not a stranger breaking in. No forced entry. No missing valuables. Someone who knew this house. Someone who'd been here long enough to find a photo, to hate it enough to destroy it, and to leave it hidden so it would be found later. Sarah? Or the woman who'd been pretending to be Sarah? My phone buzzed again. Ethan. Mom, she just looked up at the camera, straight at it, like she knew I was watching. She mouthed something. I think it was "I'm sorry" again. Then she turned away. I typed back one-handed, tears blurring the screen. I found something, a photo, her face scratched out. In our house. She was here, Ethan. Whoever she was here. His reply was instant. Get out of the house, now. Go to a neighbor's, call the police. I'll land in 40 minutes. I'll call you the second we're on the ground. I didn't move. I couldn't. Because if I left, I'd be running from my own home, from the life I'd built here, from the family I thought I knew. But if I stayed, I looked down the hallway toward the guest room. The door was still open, the bed still made, the scent of lavender almost gone now. I pushed myself up, walked to the front door, opened it. The neighborhood was still there. Mr. Callahan waved. I waved back, mechanical. Then I closed the door, locked it. I wasn't running yet. I went to the hall closet, pulled out Tom's old baseball bat. He'd kept it there for just in case, even though we lived in the safest suburb in Colorado. The grip was worn smooth from years of Little League practices with Ethan. I carried it back to the living room, sat on the couch, bat across my lap, and waited for Ethan to land. Waited for the woman in 14C to deplane. Waited for whatever came next. Because the photo didn't lie. And neither did the cold certainty settling in my bones. Whoever had been in my house wasn't just gone. She'd left something behind on purpose. A message, a warning. And I was starting to think it wasn't meant for me. It was meant for the woman on that plane. The hours after Ethan's text felt like swimming through molasses. Thick, slow, suffocating. I didn't leave the couch, didn't eat, didn't turn on the TV. I just sat with Tom's old Louisville Slugger across my lap, the wood warm from my grip, and stared at the front door like it might open on its own. Every car that passed on Maplewood Lane made my pulse spike. Every shadow shifting across the curtains felt like eyes watching back.
Ethan landed in Boston at 11:42 a.m. Mountain Time. His first call came through at 11:47. Mom, I'm on the ground. She deplaned before I could get off the flight deck. By the time I cleared the jetway, she was gone. Vanished into the terminal like smoke. I checked every gate, asked security. They pulled the footage. She walked straight to baggage claim, no luggage, then out the sliding doors to the curb. No rideshare, no taxi, just gone. His voice was ragged, the way it got after long red-eyes when he was fighting adrenaline crash. But this wasn't fatigue. This was fear. Did you see her face clearly? I asked. Clear enough. It's Sarah. Or it's someone who could fool me in a lineup. Same freckle pattern across her nose, same way she tucks her hair when she's nervous. Mom, she sat in first class on the return leg too. I pulled strings, got her upgraded last minute. Watched her the whole way back on the galley cam feed. 4 hours. She didn't eat the meal, didn't drink the water, didn't even recline the seat. Just stared straight ahead, hands folded in her lap like she was praying or waiting for judgment. I swallowed hard. Ethan, the boarding pass I found, it was for 417. Today, purchased at 2:47 a.m. If that was the real Sarah buying it in the middle of the night, then who was the woman sleeping in my guest room? Silence stretched so long I thought the call dropped. I don't know, he finally said, but I think there are 2 of them. The words landed heavy, absurd, impossible. I laughed, a short, brittle sound that didn't reach my eyes. Don't be ridiculous. Twins? Doppelgangers? That's movie of the week stuff. Yesterday morning, she kissed me goodbye at DIA, he said quietly, right outside security. She had her carry-on, the Navy one with the airplane zippercle. Said she was driving straight to your place because work was killing her and she needed quiet. I watched her get in the car, watched her pull away. I even texted her an hour later. Made it home safe? She replied, just pulled in. Mom's making tea. Love you. Timestamp 9:32 a.m., Monday. I remembered that text. I'd seen it pop up on my phone while I was folding laundry. So if that was her driving here, I said slowly, and she arrived Sunday night. She didn't arrive Sunday night, Ethan cut in. She left Denver Sunday night. Said she had a work thing in Boston, last-minute client meeting. I drove her to the airport myself, dropped her at departures, watched her disappear through the doors. She texted me from the gate, boarding soon, miss you already. My mouth went dry. Then who was in my guest room Sunday night? Who ate my soup? Who flushed the toilet at midnight? I don't know, Mom, but the woman who kissed me goodbye Monday morning, the one who texted from your driveway, was here in Denver. And the one who boarded my flight today was also here, in 2 places at once. I pressed my fingers to my temples. This doesn't make sense. It makes perfect sense if one of them isn't Sarah. The line crackled. A gate agent called boarding for someone else's flight in the background. I'm catching the next flight back to Denver, 3 hours from now. I'll be home by tonight. Don't stay in the house alone. Go to Mrs. Ramirez next door, or the coffee shop, anywhere with people. I'm fine, I lied. You're not. Lock the doors, keep the back close. And Mom, look at her social media. Really look. The timestamps. Something's off. He hung up. I opened Sarah's Instagram again, scrolled back through the last week like a detective searching for clues in plain sight. Friday, brewery photo with Ethan. Normal. Saturday, a selfie at a farmer's market holding a bouquet of sunflowers. Caption, fall vibes and fresh produce. Autumn sunflowers. Location tagged, Union Station, Denver, 11:14 a.m. Sunday, story boomerang of her suitcase in my driveway at 8:07 p.m. Home away from home, house. Monday, aspen leaves outside the guest room window. Quiet is good medicine, 2:19 p.m. Tuesday, nothing new. But wait, I clicked on the tagged location for Saturday's farmer's market post, Union Station. Then I opened her story archive again, the Sunday driveway boomerang, timestamp 8:07 p.m. But the metadata on the photo showed GPS coordinates. I copied them into Google Maps. The pin dropped in the middle of I-70, 30 miles east of Denver. Not my driveway, not even close. My hands shook so hard the phone nearly slipped. I went back further. A photo from 2 weeks ago. Sarah at a coffee shop in Lodo, laptop open, looking tired. Timestamp 10:03 a.m. Tuesday, today. The same Tuesday, Ethan saw her board his flight at 8:15 a.m. She was in Denver at 10 a.m., while Ethan watched her sit in row 14C at 8:15. 2 places, same time.
I slammed the laptop shut, stood up, paced. The room spun. I grabbed the kitchen counter to steady myself. That's when I noticed the fridge door was slightly ajar. I always closed it fully, habit from years of scolding Ethan as a teenager. I pulled it open. Inside, on the middle shelf, sat a single item that hadn't been there this morning. A small glass jar of strawberry jam. The label was handwritten in black Sharpie. For Eleanor. Sorry it had to end this way. No signature. But the handwriting was Sarah's. The same looping S, the same little heart dotting the I in strawberry that she used on birthday cards. I stared at the jar until my eyes burned. Then I picked up my phone and searched for private investigators in Denver. Found one with decent reviews. Tom Reyes, ex-DPD, licensed, discreet. I called. He answered on the second ring. Reyes Investigations. Mr. Reyes, my name is Eleanor Hayes. I need help. My daughter-in-law, there are 2 of her. Silence. Then a low chuckle that wasn't mocking, just tired. I've heard weirder. Come to my office tomorrow, 9 a.m. Bring everything you've got. Photos, timestamps, boarding passes, all of it. I booked the appointment. That night I didn't sleep in my bed. I sat in the living room recliner, Bat beside me, every light in the house blazing. Watched the clock tick toward Ethan's arrival. Around 2 a.m., my phone lit up with a new text from an unknown number. A single photo. Sarah, or her double, standing in an airport bathroom mirror. Red coat, locket, same smile. But the caption read, "She's the lie. I'm the truth." I blocked the number, turned off the phone, and sat in the bright, empty house wondering which version of my daughter-in-law I'd let sleep under my roof, and which one was coming back for me.
I didn't sleep that night. Not really. I dozed in the recliner in fits and starts, Bat still across my lap, every headlight sweep across the living room curtains jolting me upright like a gunshot. By 6 a.m., the house felt haunted, not by ghosts, but by absence. Sarah's absence, or whoever she'd been. The jar of strawberry jam still sat on the middle shelf of the fridge, label facing out like a taunt. I hadn't touched it. I couldn't bring myself to throw it away either. Evidence, maybe, or superstition. If I got rid of it, whatever game this was might end, and I wasn't ready for the ending yet. Ethan landed back in Denver just after midnight. He didn't come straight home, said he needed to file an incident report with airline security first, something about a passenger behaving erratically. I didn't press. His voice on the phone had sounded hollow, like the man who'd called me from 35,000 feet was already half gone. He showed up at my door at 8:17 a.m., still in uniform, tie loosened, eyes bloodshot behind his aviators. He didn't hug me, just stepped inside, locked the door behind him, and looked around like he expected someone to jump out of the shadows. "You okay?" he asked. "No," I said. "You?" "No."
We sat at the kitchen table. I slid the boarding pass and the scratched-out family photo across to him. He studied them without touching, like they might burn. Then he pulled out his own phone and showed me the still from the galley cam, the woman in 14C on the return flight, face half-turned, eyes fixed on some middle distance. Same red coat, same locket, same everything. "She didn't look at me once after takeoff," he said. "Not even when the drink cart came by. Just sat there, like a statue. When we landed, she was first off the plane. I ran down the jetway after her, broke every protocol, but by the time I hit the terminal, she was gone. Security reviewed the footage, said she walked straight out to the parking garage, got into a black SUV with tinted windows, no plates visible. Driver never got out." I rubbed my temples. "Ethan, we need help, real help, not the police who think this is just a runaway wife." He nodded. "I already called someone." Tom Reyes arrived at 9:03 a.m. sharp. Mid-50s, salt and pepper hair cropped military short, shoulders like he still hit the gym every morning. Ex-Denver PD, 15 years on major crimes before he went private. No nonsense, no small talk. He shook my hand like we were closing a business deal and sat down without being asked. "Tell me everything," he said, pulling a small digital recorder from his coat pocket. From the beginning. Don't leave out the crazy parts. I've heard crazier. We did. Ethan started with the cockpit sighting. I filled in the empty guest room, the boarding pass, the scratched photo, the Instagram timestamps that put Sarah in 2 cities at once, the jar of jam with the apology note in her handwriting. Reyes listened without interrupting, only nodding once when Ethan mentioned the black SUV.
When we finished, he leaned back and exhaled through his nose. "Your daughter-in-law has a twin," he said. Ethan laughed, a short, bitter bark. "She's an only child. We met her parents before they passed. No siblings, no mention of adoption, nothing." Reyes didn't smile. Not always blood twins. Sometimes it's close enough to fool DNA at 20 paces. But in this case, it's blood. He opened a slim leather folder he'd brought and slid 2 printouts across the table. First, a Colorado birth certificate from 32 years ago. Sarah Marie Voss, born to Margaret Voss, father listed as unknown. Hospital, St. Joseph's, Denver. Second, another certificate. Same date, Lila Marie Voss. Same mother, different father notation, redacted per court order. Same hospital. Twins, Reyes said. Fraternal, but identical enough in facial structure to pass for mere images if the hair's the same and the makeup matches. Sarah was kept. Lila was given up for adoption within 48 hours. Closed adoption. Record sealed until both turned 30. Sarah never knew. Lila did, tracked her down about 5 years ago. Ethan stared at the papers like they might bite. "How do you know all this?" "I have friends at Vital Records. Pulled favors. Also ran Sarah's name through some databases last night after your call. Lila Voss popped up in a fraud case 3 years back. Identity theft, credit cards, the works. Charges dropped when the victim recanted. Guess who the victim was?" "Sarah," I whispered.
Reyes nodded. "Sarah filed the report, then withdrew it. Said it was a misunderstanding, family matter." Ethan's face went gray. "She never told me." "She probably didn't want to believe it," Reyes said. "Most people don't. They think blood means safety. It doesn't." He tapped the second page. "Last known address for Lila, a budget motel off I-90 outside Boston. The Seaside Motor Lodge. Checked in under Sarah Hayes 2 weeks ago. Paid cash. Left 3 days ago. Maid service found women's clothing. Red coat, silver locket, laptop. All gone now." Boston. Ethan's hub. The flight Sarah or Lila had just taken. I felt the room tilt. So the woman who was here was Lila. "Most likely," Reyes said. "She's been playing long game. Gets close, learns routines, waits for an opening. Your son flies a lot. Easy for a wife to be away without suspicion. Lila slips in during one of those absences, takes over. Sarah either doesn't notice at first, or she's too scared, or too broken to fight it." Ethan stood up so fast the chair scraped. "We need to go to Boston, right now." Reyes raised a hand. "Slow down, Captain. You go charging in, you spook her. If she's still there, she'll bolt. If she's not, you're wasting time. Let me make some calls. I've got contacts at Logan Security. They can pull more footage, check the SUV plates if any cameras caught them." I looked between them. "And if Lila's the one who was on the plane yesterday, the one who whispered, 'Tell your mom I'm sorry.'" Reyes met my eyes, steady. "Then the real Sarah might still be out there, and she might be running out of time." Ethan paced to the window, stared out at the aspens losing their last gold leaves. "I kissed her goodbye Monday morning. I told her I loved her. If that was Lila—" "Don't go there yet," Reyes said. "We don't know who was who when. Focus on what we can prove." He stood, gathered his folder. "I'll dig deeper. Credit cards, phone pings, social media geotags. Give me 24 hours. In the meantime, don't stay here alone. Both of you. Get a hotel. Use cash if you can. Assume she's watching."
He left us with a business card and a quiet warning. Twins don't always fight fair, especially when one thinks she's owed the life the other stole. Ethan and I sat in silence after the door closed. Then he said, very quietly, "Mom, I think I married the wrong one." I reached across the table and took his hand. His fingers were ice cold. "We'll get her back," I said, "whoever she is." But even as I said it, I wasn't sure which her I meant. The real Sarah,
or the one who'd learned to wear her face so perfectly that even her husband couldn't tell the difference. Outside, a car slowed on Maplewood Lane. Didn't stop, just slowed, then accelerated away. We both pretended not to notice, but we both heard it. The drive to Boston took longer than it should have. Ethan and I flew commercial. His airline perks didn't extend to emergency family crises, and the layover in Chicago felt endless. Turbulence over the Great Lakes rattled the plane like loose change in a dryer. I gripped the armrests and stared out at the black nothing beyond the window, wondering if the woman in 14C had stared out the same way on Ethan's flight, wondering if she'd felt the same sick drop in her stomach. We landed at Logan just after 9 p.m. Eastern. The terminal smelled of wet concrete and pretzels. Ethan rented a nondescript gray sedan, no black SUV vibes, and we followed Tom Rias's directions to the Seaside Motor Lodge off I-90 in Revere, a low-slung 2-story building with peeling blue paint and a neon vacancy sign that flickered like it was having a seizure. The parking lot was half empty, a couple of pickups, a rusty minivan, and one black sedan with tinted windows that made my skin crawl. Room 217, second floor, end unit. Door slightly ajar, light spilling out in a thin yellow wedge. Ethan killed the engine. We sat in silence for a long minute, listening to the distant roar of jets taking off from the airport. "You sure about this?" he asked. "No," I said, "but we're here." He nodded once. We got out. The night air was cold, salty from the nearby Atlantic. I carried Tom's baseball bat in a gym bag slung over my shoulder. Stupid maybe, but it felt better than nothing. Ethan had his phone flashlight ready, thumb hovering over 911. The stairs creaked under our weight. At the top, Ethan pushed the door wider with his foot. It swung inward without resistance. The room smelled like old cigarettes, cheap air freshener, and something metallic underneath. Blood? No. Ink, maybe. Or fierce sweat. Chaos everywhere. Clothes strewn across the unmade bed. Sarah's favorite jeans, the ones with the rip at the knee she refused to throw away. A silk blouse I'd bought her for Mother's Day last year. A pair of black ankle boots, same scuff on the left toe. Her red wool coat hung on the back of a chair like it was waiting for her to come back and wear it. Photos taped to the wall in a frantic grid. Dozens, hundreds, black and white surveillance shots mostly, printed on cheap paper at a drugstore kiosk. Ethan at the airport gate, rolling his suitcase. Me on the porch watering geraniums. Our house from across Maplewood Lane, zoom lens catching the kitchen window where I'd stood pouring coffee that Tuesday morning. Ethan and Sarah at the brewery, candid, taken from outside the window. Sarah laughing, head thrown back. Another of her alone, staring out my guest room window at the Aspens. In the center of it all, a full-length mirror propped against the dresser. Someone had written across it in bright red lipstick, letters large and shaky. "She's the lie. I'm the truth." The I was underlined 3 times. The lipstick smeared like tears had run through it. Ethan made a sound, half choke, half curse. He stepped inside, sweeping the flashlight beam. I followed, bat half out of the bag. The bathroom door was open, light on, mirror fogged like someone had just showered. A towel on the floor, damp. On the sink, Sarah's silver locket, chain coiled neatly beside a tube of her favorite coral lipstick. I picked up the locket. It was warm. Not room temperature warm, body warm, like it had been against skin minutes ago. "Ethan," I whispered. He turned, saw the locket in my hand, his face drained of color. A noise behind us, soft, deliberate. Footsteps on carpet. We spun. Lila stood in the doorway. She wore the red coat, same coat from the surveillance photos, same coat Ethan had described on the plane. Hair the exact shade of Sarah's, chestnut with auburn highlights. Makeup perfect, winged liner, soft pink lips. The locket's twin hung around her neck, catching the dim overhead light. But the eyes were different. Not hazel like Sarah's, darker, colder, like looking into a well at midnight. "You're not supposed to be here," she said, voice soft, almost gentle. Sarah's voice, with an edge, like a blade wrapped in velvet. Ethan stepped in front of me. "Where's Sarah?" Lila tilted her head, studying him like he was a puzzle she'd already solved. "Sarah's been gone a long time. I've been Sarah for 2 years now. You never noticed. Your mom never noticed. Nobody noticed. My mouth went dry. What did you do to her?
Lila smiled. Sarah's smile, the one that used to light up rooms. But wrong, too sharp at the edges. She was tired, depressed, said the marriage was suffocating her. The long flights, the empty house, the way you looked through her sometimes, Ethan, like she was furniture. She wanted to disappear. I helped, gave her cash, a new passport, a ticket to Lisbon. She's in Europe now, small village outside Porto, vineyard job, quiet life, no more pretending. Ethan's fists clenched. You're lying. Am I? Lila reached into her coat pocket, pulled out a folded piece of paper, tossed it at our feet. Ethan snatched it up. A photocopy of a one-way ticket. Lisbon. Name Emily Carter. Date 18 months ago. Photo attached. Sarah. Thinner, eyes hollow, but alive. She left you, Lila said quietly, and I stepped in. I loved you first, you know, before she even knew your name. I saw you at that bar in Lodo 5 years ago. You bought her a drink. I watched from the corner. I waited. I planned. When she broke, I was ready. I felt the bat slip lower in my grip. Why tell us now? Lila smiled faded. Because she came back. The real Sarah. She found out. Booked a flight to expose me. Flight 417. I couldn't let her ruin everything. Ethan lunged forward. Where is she? Lila didn't flinch. She's on the flight now. The one you're supposed to fly tomorrow back to Denver. I switched our boarding passes at the gate yesterday. She thinks she's coming home to confront me, but she's walking into a trap. I'm the one who's supposed to be safe at your mom's house right now, waiting, watching.
My blood turned to ice. You're going to kill her. Lila looked almost sad. I'm going to finish what she started, disappearing, for good this time. She stepped back toward the door. Ethan moved to block her. She pulled a small black pistol from the coat pocket. Not dramatic, just calm, practiced. Pointed it at his chest. Don't, she said softly. I don't want to hurt you. I love you. Ethan froze. I raised the bat slowly. Lila's eyes flicked to me. Eleanor, you always liked me better. Admit it. I was nicer to you, cooked better, listened better. You're not her, I said. I'm better, she whispered. Then she backed out the door, coat swirling, footsteps down the stairs, car engine starting in the lot below. Ethan ran to the railing. Too late. Black SUV peeled out, taillights vanishing into the night. I stood in the doorway, bat trembling in my hands, staring at the lipstick on the mirror. She's the lie. I'm the truth. And for the first time, I wondered which one was which. Because the woman who just left wasn't running. She was going back to my house, to wait for the real Sarah to land, and for us to chase her straight into whatever end she'd planned. We didn't chase the black SUV, not right away. Ethan stood frozen at the motel railing, knuckles white on the metal, watching the taillights disappear into the Revere night like they'd never been there. I stayed in the doorway of room 217, bat hanging limp at my side, staring at the red lipstick scrawl on the mirror. The words blurred as my eyes filled, not from fear, not entirely, from the sudden bone-deep realization that the woman we'd loved, trusted, built a family around might have been a stranger wearing her face for longer than any of us wanted to count. Ethan finally turned. His face was a mask, pilot calm cracking at the edges. We need to get to the airport, now. If she's telling the truth, if the real Sarah is on tomorrow's flight back to Denver, she's walking into whatever trap Lila set. I nodded. Words wouldn't come. We gathered what we could from the room before we left. The locket from the bathroom sink, still warm, still wrong. The photocopied Lisbon ticket, a handful of surveillance photos we peeled off the wall. Evidence. Or bait. I didn't know anymore. We drove in silence back to Logan. The rental car smelled like airport coffee and desperation. Ethan's hands were steady on the wheel, but his jaw worked like he was chewing glass. I kept replaying Leela's voice in my head, soft, almost kind. I loved you first. She wanted to disappear. I helped. By the time we reached the terminal, it was past midnight. Ethan used his crew badge to get us airside access.
We found an empty gate lounge near the crew scheduling office and sat under fluorescent lights that buzzed like dying insects. He pulled strings, called in favors from colleagues still on duty. Within 30 minutes, he had the passenger manifest for tomorrow's flight 417. Denver return, departing Logan at 7:45 a.m. Sarah Hayes was listed, seat 14C, same as before. Ethan stared at the screen until his eyes watered. It's her, the real one. She must have escaped whatever Leela had planned, booked the flight to come home, to confront her. Or to confront us, I said quietly. If she thinks we've been living with the imposter all this time, she might not trust anyone. He rubbed his face. I have to fly that leg. I'm already rostered. If I call in sick now, they'll reassign the flight. She'll be stuck with a stranger in the cockpit. I need to be the one she sees when she boards. I reached across the armrest and squeezed his wrist. Then I'm coming with you. Stand by, whatever it takes.
She slid into 14C, hands shaking as she stowed her small carry-on under the seat. No purse, no phone visible, just the coat folded over her lap like armor. The door closed, engine spooled up. Safety demo played on the screens. I kept my eyes on the back of her head. She didn't turn, didn't speak, just sat rigid, staring at the seat back in front of her. Mid-climb, clung out for upstate New York. The seatbelt sign dinged off. Turbulence hit, a hard, sudden jolt that rattled trays and made a toddler cry 2 rows back. The lights flickered once, twice. Sarah stood. She moved fast, too fast for someone who'd been sitting statue still for an hour. Straight to the cockpit door. She banged on it. Not frantic, deliberate. 3 sharp knocks. The door cracked open. Ethan's face appeared in the gap, eyes wide. Sarah? His voice broke on her name. She collapsed against the frame, shoulders shaking. It's me. I swear it's me. Leela, she took everything. She's been me, for years. The flight attendants were already moving, confused, reaching for call buttons. Passengers murmured. Phones came out. I stood up. My son's wife has been impersonated. The woman at my house right now isn't her. Chaos erupted in slow motion. One attendant tried to guide Sarah back to her seat. She resisted. Another reached for the intercom. Ethan stepped out of the cockpit far enough to pull her into a half embrace. Awkward, public, desperate. Mom, he said over her shoulder. Tell them. I raised my voice above the growing noise. Everyone listen. There's been an identity theft. My daughter-in-law, the real one, is standing right here. The woman who looks like her is dangerous. We need to land, now.
The lead flight attendant, a woman named Carla, name tag gleaming, held up both hands. Ma'am, please return to your seat. We'll handle this. Sarah pulled back from Ethan just enough to look at me. Tears streaked her face. She switched the passes. She wanted me on this flight. She's going to your house, Eleanor. She's waiting for me to show up so she can finish it. She said if I came back, she'd make sure no one believed me. The plane bucked again, harder this time. Overhead bins rattled. A drink cart rolled a foot before someone stopped it. Ethan turned to Carla. Divert, closest suitable field. Tell ATC we have a security issue on board. Passenger threat. Carla hesitated, then nodded. She disappeared toward the galley to make the call. Sarah sank into the jump seat beside the cockpit door, knees drawn up. Ethan crouched in front of her, hands on her arms. I'm sorry, she whispered. I should have told you about Leela, years ago, when she first showed up. I thought I could handle it. I thought she'd go away. He shook his head. We'll fix this. We're landing soon. I sat back down, heart hammering, watching them. The real Sarah, thinner, broken, but unmistakably her. The way she leaned into Ethan's touch, the small, familiar gesture when she tucked her hair behind her ear. But doubt crept in anyway. Because Leela had worn that same gesture perfectly. Because the locket around Sarah's neck, the one she touched now like a talisman, was the same as the one we'd found in the motel. Because in the confusion of the moment, I couldn't shake Leela's parting words. I'm better. The captain's voice came over the PA, Ethan's first officer, calm and professional. Ladies and gentlemen, due to a medical and security concern, we're diverting to Syracuse Hancock International.
We'll be on the ground in approximately 25 minutes. Please remain seated with seatbelts fastened. The plane banked left, descending.
Sarah looked back at me one more time. Her eyes were pleading, but I couldn't tell if she was begging for help or forgiveness, because the truth was clawing its way up my throat. What if both of them were telling the truth? What if Sarah had wanted to disappear, and Lila had only given her the push? The lights dimmed for landing, and I sat there, 35,000 feet lower than I'd been an hour ago, wondering which woman I'd protect when we hit the ground, because one of them was coming home, and the other was already waiting.
The descent into Syracuse was brutal. Not the weather, clear skies, smooth glide path, but the tension inside the cabin. Every jolt of the airframe felt personal, like the plane itself knew what was at stake. Flight attendants moved with practiced calm, but their eyes kept darting to Sarah and the jump seat by the cockpit door. Passengers whispered. Phones stayed out, recording discreetly. Someone in row 10 started live streaming. I caught the red dot glowing on that screen. By the time we touched down, half the internet would probably know there was a woman impersonating another woman on a United flight. We taxied to a remote gate. No jetway, just stairs rolled up to the forward door. Police cruisers waited on the apron, lights pulsing blue and red against the gray tarmac. Ethan stayed in the cockpit until the engines wound down, then came out in his captain's uniform, sleeves rolled, tie gone. He looked 10 years older than when we'd boarded in Boston. Sarah hadn't moved from the jump seat. She sat curled in on herself, coat still draped over her lap, fingers twisting the locket chain until the skin on her knuckles turned white. When Ethan crouched in front of her again, she flinched, like touch was something she'd forgotten how to accept. "They're going to take you to a secure room at the terminal," he told her gently. "Mom and I will be right there. We'll explain everything. You're safe now." She looked up at him, eyes glassy. "She knows I'm here. She'll know we diverted. She'll be gone by the time we get to Denver." "Then we'll find her," he said. "We have her last known location. Motel footage, your testimony. We're ending this."
I nodded. Words wouldn't come. We gathered what we could from the room before we left. The locket from the bathroom sink, still warm, still wrong. The photocopied Lisbon ticket. A handful of surveillance photos we peeled off the wall. Evidence, or bait, I didn't know anymore. We drove in silence back to Logan. The rental car smelled like airport coffee and desperation. Ethan's hands were steady on the wheel, but his jaw worked like he was chewing glass. I kept replaying Leela's voice in my head. Soft, almost kind. "I loved you first." She wanted to disappear. I helped. By the time we reached the terminal, it was past midnight. Ethan used his crew badge to get us airside access. We found an empty gate lounge near the crew scheduling office and sat under fluorescent lights that buzzed like dying insects. He pulled strings, called in favors from colleagues still on duty. Within 30 minutes, he had the passenger manifest for tomorrow's flight 417, Denver return, departing Logan at 7:45 a.m. Sarah Hayes was listed, seat 14C, same as before. Ethan stared at the screen until his eyes watered. It's her, the real one. She must have escaped whatever Leela had planned, booked the flight to come home, to confront her. Or to confront us, I said quietly. If she thinks we've been living with the imposter all this time, she might not trust anyone. He rubbed his face. I have to fly that leg. I'm already rostered. If I call in sick now, they'll reassign the flight. She'll be stuck with a stranger in the cockpit. I need to be the one she sees when she boards. The lead flight attendant, Carla, opened the forward door. Cold air rushed in, smelling of jet fuel and wet pavement. 2 uniformed Syracuse PD officers boarded first, hands on belts, expressions neutral but alert. Behind them, a woman in plain clothes, FBI windbreaker, badge on a chain, stepped up. "Captain Hayes," she said. "Agent Ramirez, FBI behavioral analysis. We got the diversion call. Walk me through it." Ethan stood, gave the short version. Wife impersonated by identical twin sister given up at birth. 2 years of identity theft. Confrontation on the plane. Threat of violence back in Denver. He kept his voice level, pilot precise. No emotion until the end. "My mother's house is empty right now, or it won't be. Leela, the imposter, is heading there, or already there. She has a key. She knows the layout. She's armed." Ramirez nodded once. "We've got local PD en route to the address in Colorado. They'll secure it. In the meantime, we need statements, all 3 of you." They moved us off the plane last. Sarah first, flanked by 2 officers. She walked like her legs might give out any second. I stayed close behind, one hand hovering near her elbow without touching.
Ethan brought up the rear, eyes scanning every face in the terminal as we were ushered through a side corridor to a small conference room that smelled of burnt coffee and old carpet. Inside, long table, folding chairs, a one-way mirror I assumed had eyes behind it. Sarah sat at one end. I took the chair beside her. Ethan stood, too wired to sit. Ramirez started gentle. Mrs. Hayes, Sarah, can you tell me when you first realized someone was impersonating you? I reached across the armrest and squeezed his wrist. Then I'm coming with you. Stand by, whatever it takes.
Sarah stared at her hands. 2 years ago, maybe longer. Little things. Ethan would mention conversations I didn't remember. I'd find clothes in the closet I hadn't bought, makeup shades I never wore. I thought, stress, memory lapses. I was depressed. Work was hell. Marriage felt distant. I started seeing a therapist. She said dissociation. I believed her. She swallowed. Then Lila showed up, knocked on our apartment door one Saturday, looked exactly like me, said she was my twin, showed me the birth certificates, said our mother gave her up because she couldn't handle two. I didn't believe it at first, made her leave, but she kept coming back, quietly, texts from burner numbers, photos of me at work, at the grocery store. She said she just wanted to know me, to be close. Ethan made a low sound in his throat. Sarah glanced at him, then away. I didn't tell him, she continued. I was ashamed, scared he'd think I was crazy. Then one day, I snapped, packed a bag, left a note saying I needed space, flew to Lisbon on a one-way, changed my name, Emily Carter, vineyard work, no social media, no contact. I thought if I disappeared, she'd stop. I thought she'd take the life and leave me alone. But she didn't, I said quietly. Sarah shook her head. She took it, became me, perfectly. I followed from afar, at first just curiosity, then horror, saw the photos, Ethan smiling like nothing changed, you, Eleanor, posting about family time. I realized she wasn't just wearing my face, she was better at being me than I ever was. Ramirez leaned forward. When did you decide to come back? 3 weeks ago. I saw a post, her at the brewery with Ethan, same table we used to go to, same smile. Something broke. I booked the ticket, flight 417. Thought if I showed up on his plane, confronted her in front of him, he'd see, he'd know. Ethan rubbed his face. I saw you bored. I thought you were her. I let you come up front. You whispered, tell your mom I'm sorry. Sarah's eyes filled. I was sorry for leaving, for letting this happen, for not fighting harder. The room went quiet except for the low hum of the air conditioning. Ramirez broke it. We have a team heading to your house now, Eleanor. They'll take Lila into custody if she's there. If she's not, we'll put out a bolo. Be on the lookout. Description matches Sarah. Red coat, silver locket, armed and dangerous. My phone buzzed on the table. Unknown number, Colorado area code. I showed it to Ramirez. She nodded. Answer, speaker. I hit accept. Static. Then Lila's voice, soft, almost sweet. Eleanor, you diverted the flight. Smart, but unnecessary. I'm not at your house anymore. I'm at the airport, Denver International, waiting for you all to land. Gate B42. I have something you want. Click. The line went dead. Ramirez was already on her radio. Get Denver PD to DIA, Gate B42. Suspect matching description. Female, 30s, red coat, armed. Possible hostage situation. Ethan looked at Sarah, then at me. We're getting the next flight out, he said. We end this tonight. Sarah reached for his hand. This time he let her take it. I stood up, legs unsteady, because the woman on the other end of that call hadn't sounded like a cornered animal. She'd sounded patient. Like she'd been waiting for this exact moment. Like the trap wasn't for Sarah at all. It was for us, all three of us, walking straight back into the life she'd built, and the one she wasn't ready to give up. The flight from Syracuse back to Denver felt like flying through a storm made of glass, sharp, fragile, ready to shatter at the slightest wrong move. We were on the next available plane out, United 842, departing 3:15 p.m. Eastern, arriving Denver just after 5:30 Mountain. Ethan pulled every string he had left. Crew jump seat approval for Sarah, standby for me. The airline didn't ask too many questions after the Syracuse diversion report hit their system.
They just wanted the problem contained. Sarah sat between us in first class, Ethan on the aisle, me by the window. She changed into borrowed clothes from a flight attendant's spare uniform bag, plain black slacks, white blouse, navy cardigan. The red coat was folded in the overhead bin like evidence we didn't want to look at. No makeup, hair in a loose braid. She looked smaller than I remembered, like the years of hiding had carved pieces out of her. She didn't speak for the first hour, just stared at the seatback screen. Movie paused on the opening credits, volume off. Her fingers never stopped moving, twisting the locket, tracing the heart shape, releasing, repeating. Ethan kept one hand on her knee, steady pressure, like he was afraid she'd vanish if he let go. Like she'd been waiting for this exact moment. Like the trap wasn't for Sarah at all. It was for us, all three of us, walking straight back into the life she'd built, and the one she wasn't ready to give up. The flight from Syracuse back to Denver felt like flying through a storm made of glass, sharp, fragile, ready to shatter at the slightest wrong move. We were on the next available plane out, United 842, departing 3:15 p.m. Eastern, arriving Denver just after 5:30 Mountain. Ethan pulled every string he had left. Crew jump seat approval for Sarah, standby for me. The airline didn't ask too many questions after the Syracuse diversion report hit their system. They just wanted the problem contained. Sarah sat between us in first class, Ethan on the aisle, me by the window. She changed into borrowed clothes from a flight attendant's spare uniform bag, plain black slacks, white blouse, navy cardigan. The red coat was folded in the overhead bin like evidence we didn't want to look at. No makeup, hair in a loose braid. She looked smaller than I remembered, like the years of hiding had carved pieces out of her. She didn't speak for the first hour, just stared at the seatback screen. Movie paused on the opening credits, volume off. Her fingers never stopped moving, twisting the locket, tracing the heart shape, releasing, repeating. Ethan kept one hand on her knee, steady pressure, like he was afraid she'd vanish if he let go.
Sarah stared at the necklace in my palm, then slowly lifted her own. 2 identical hearts, 2 chains, 2 lives braided into silver. Marcus cleared his throat. "We're 40 minutes out. Captain's asking if everything's okay back here." Ethan nodded. "We're good." We returned to our seats. Sarah sat straighter now. Not calm, never calm, but resolved, like she'd made peace with whatever waited at DIA. The descent began over the Front Range. Snow-capped peaks glowed pink in the late afternoon sun. Denver sprawled below like a map someone had drawn with ruler-straight streets. The plane banked, lined up for 35R. Sarah reached across Ethan and took my hand. Hers was cold, trembling. "Thank you," she whispered, "for believing me." I squeezed back. "Always." Wheels touched. Reverse thrust roared. Brakes bit. We taxied to the gate. B-52. No, wait. Lila had said B-42. Different concourse. We'd have to take the train. As the door opened, 2 uniformed Denver PD officers stepped aboard. Ramirez was behind them, windbreaker zipped, expression unreadable. "Mrs. Hayes," she said to Sarah, "we need you to come with us first. Separate interview. Protocol." Sarah nodded, stood. Ethan started to rise. Ramirez held up a hand. "Captain, you and your mother next. We've got plain clothes at B-42. No sign of the suspect yet, but she called your mother's phone from a burner registered in Massachusetts. Last ping, inside the airport, 30 minutes ago." Ethan's face hardened. "She's here." Ramirez gave a tight nod. "We think so. Coat sighted on camera near the train platform. She's moving. We're locking down the concourse." Sarah turned to us one last time before the officers escorted her off. "If you see her," she said quietly, "don't let her talk. She'll sound like me. She'll look like me. But she'll say things only I would know, to make you doubt." Ethan stepped close, kissed her forehead. "I won't doubt." Then she was gone, down the jetway, flanked by uniforms. Ethan and I followed Ramirez. The terminal was strangely quiet. Passengers held back behind stanchions, TSA agents redirecting foot traffic. We took the underground train to B concourse. Empty cars, just us, 2 officers, and the low hum of the rails. When the doors opened at B-42, chaos waited. A crowd near gate B-42, uniforms everywhere, shouts,
someone crying. And there, center of it all, Lila.
Red coat, locket gleaming, hands cuffed behind her back, but smiling like she'd won. She saw us step off the train, her eyes locked on Ethan, then on me, and she laughed, soft, delighted, Sarah's laugh. "You're late," she called across the cordon. "The real one already left." She took a cab, said she couldn't wait. Ethan froze. My stomach dropped. Ramirez barked orders. Officers moved in. But Lila kept smiling. "She told me to tell you," she said, voice carrying over the noise, "that she's sorry, again." And in that moment, 30 yards away, surrounded by police, cuffed and contained, Lila looked more like Sarah than ever. Because doubt doesn't need freedom to spread. It just needs a whisper. And she just planted one, deep.
The gate area at B42 looked like the aftermath of a bomb that hadn't quite gone off. Police tape strung across the boarding desks, uniformed officers forming a loose perimeter. Passengers herded to the far end of the concourse, phones out, recording the spectacle. In the center of it all stood Lila, hands cuffed behind her back, red coat still buttoned, silver locket catching the overhead lights like a taunt. She wasn't struggling, wasn't shouting, just smiling that small, perfect Sarah smile, the one that used to make Ethan's shoulders relax after a 14-hour day. Ramirez stepped forward, badge out. "Lila Voss, you're under arrest for identity theft, false impersonation, kidnapping, and assault with a deadly weapon. You have the right to remain silent." Lila interrupted, voice soft but carrying. "I know my rights, Agent. I've had plenty of time to read them." Ethan pushed through the cordon. An officer started to block him. Ramirez waved the man off. Ethan stopped 5 feet from her, chest heaving. "Where is she?" he asked. "The real Sarah. You said she left. Cab. Where?" Lila tilted her head. "She was never here, Ethan. Not today. Not yesterday. She's been gone since the day I helped her leave. You saw what you wanted to see on that flight. A woman who looked like me, dressed like me, whispered the words I told her to whisper. I paid a look-alike. Good one, too. Eastern European accent varied under practice. She boarded with my boarding pass, did the job, then vanished into the terminal. Cash. No questions."
Ethan's face went blank, the kind of blank that comes right before something breaks. "You're lying," I said, stepping up beside him. My voice sounded thin, like it belonged to someone else. Lila looked at me, really looked. No malice, almost pity. "Eleanor, you always trusted your eyes, but eyes can be fooled. DNA doesn't lie, though." Ramirez nodded to an officer. "Cuff transport, get her to holding." As they led her away, Lila called over her shoulder. "Check the hospital records, Mom. St. Joseph's, 32 years ago. 2 baby girls. One kept, one given away. Same mother, same night. Fraternal twins, identical faces, different fates." The words hung in the air like smoke. We didn't speak on the ride to the Denver police headquarters downtown. Sarah, our Sarah, was already there, in a soft interrogation room with coffee and a blanket. When we walked in, she stood, looked at Ethan, looked at me, then burst into tears. They ran the tests that night, buccal swabs from all 3 of us. Sarah's original birth certificate pulled from sealed records after a judge signed off on emergency release. Hospital logs, adoption papers from 1993, redacted names, but dates matched. Margaret Voss had given birth to twins. One went home with her, the other went to a Catholic agency. Closed file, sealed forever. Until now. The results came back at 2:17 a.m. Ramirez delivered them in person, folder in hand, expression unreadable. "Sarah Marie Hayes," she said, looking at our Sarah, "biological daughter of Margaret Voss. No twin listed on your public records." Then she turned to the photo of Lila on the table. "Lila Marie Voss. Same mother, same birth date, different father notation, court-ordered redaction. She was adopted out within 48 hours. Records show she petitioned to unseal at age 30, was granted access 2 years ago. That's when the contact began." Sarah sank into the chair. "She found me. She told me. I didn't believe her at first. Then she showed proof. I panicked. I ran. I thought if I disappeared, she'd stop wanting what I had."
Ethan knelt beside her. "Why didn't you tell me?"
"I was ashamed," she whispered. "Ashamed I had a sister I never knew. Ashamed I couldn't handle it. Ashamed I left you with her." I stood by the window, staring at the city lights blurring through rain-streaked glass. "She didn't just impersonate you. She became you. Better," she said. "Easier." Sarah nodded slowly. She was, for a while. No fights, no depression, no leaving. She gave you what I couldn't. Ethan shook his head. "I want you, the real you, the messy one, the one who cries at dog commercials, the one who burns toast, the one who left because she was drowning." Sarah reached for his hand. This time, he took it. Lila's trial came fast. Plea deal avoided a long circus: identity theft, stalking, fraud, false imprisonment. She admitted to holding Sarah in a storage unit outside Boston for 3 days before the escape, admitted to paying the look-alike for the flight switch, admitted everything except regret. In court, she looked across the room at Sarah and said, "I didn't steal your life. I borrowed it. You didn't want it anymore."
The judge sentenced her to 12 years. She smiled as they let her out. We changed the locks, the phone numbers, the alarm codes. Sarah moved back into their apartment slowly, first a weekend, then a week, then forever. Therapy 3 times a week. Ethan took leave from flying. I sold the house on Maplewood Lane. Too many ghosts in the hallways. Bought a condo downtown, closer to them, smaller, safer. But some nights, the phone rings. Not the landline, my cell, unknown number. I never answer. But I see the screen light up in the dark, and my heart still does that slow, sick flip. I dream of the call. Ethan's voice, panicked, engines humming behind him. "Mom, this can't be right. She's on my flight right now, not at home." And in the dream, I walk to the guest room, push the door open. The bed is empty. Or sometimes it isn't. Sometimes Sarah is there, real Sarah, sleeping peacefully under the quilt. And sometimes it's Lila, smiling in her sleep, locket glinting. And sometimes there are 2 of them, side by side, identical, whispering in unison, "Tell your mom I'm sorry." I wake up sweating, check the locks, check my phone. No missed calls, just silence. Sarah and Ethan are happy now, or trying to be. They laugh again. They travel together. Short trips, no long hauls. She wears her locket every day. He kisses her forehead before every flight. But I still wonder, because family isn't blood. It's the stories we tell ourselves about who belongs. And some stories have 2 endings. One where the twin is the villain. One where the wife was always the one running. And in the quiet hours, when the city sleeps and the Rockies stand black against the stars, I sit with a cup of cold coffee and stare at the empty chair across from me, wondering which Sarah answered the phone that October morning, wondering which one is still answering, because the truth changed everything. But it didn't end the haunting. Some secrets don't die. They just learn to wear a familiar face and wait for the next call.